If you want to run successful advertising in 2024, then you need to watch this video. Because in this video, I'm going to take you behind the scenes and show you a private training that I recorded with our email division to tell them about my entire philosophy when it comes to successful media buying. I'm not only going to show you the process, the holistic structure that we apply to all of our ad accounts, but I'm also going to walk you through how we do creative iteration testing and what the data we see in the ad account tells us about our market. So buckle up and get ready to watch this private training that's never been seen anywhere outside of our internal team. How many of you know nothing about ads, like paid media buying? Does anyone know nothing? Okay, we got one. Oh, okay, here we go. Here's more of the brave souls. All right, sweet. So I think ultimately the goal for this call is okay, how can we get teams to work together, right? Obviously, you guys get incredible data and feedback on the campaigns that you guys send, media buying, same on that side. And so, but we're kind of operating in silos. And so you guys are probably figuring out a lot of problems that on the media buying side, we're trying to figure out of what angles, what types of offers, what types of language styles does it work best and get people to convert, and vice versa. We get to really test really rapidly because we get the luxury of spending money, which forces data, right? Whereas you guys kind of have to wait for people to open an email to really kind of understand, hey, did what we try work, right? And so I think if we can come up with a good synergy between departments, it'll allow us to get learnings much faster and ultimately produce better results for the clients. So as some context, I actually was an email marketer before I was ever a media buyer. And I was a copywriter before I was ever an email marketer. And so a lot of how I built systems for media buying comes from a copywriting perspective. And I think that has allowed us to produce a very unique process to media buying. And ultimately, I think has produced a lot of the results because at the end of the day, media buying is in and of itself pushing buttons. But the magic that goes behind media buying is when you're a great marketer, right? And just like with email marketing, right? At the end of the day, email marketing is pushing buttons in a email service provider's account. It is segmentations, it is flows, but the magic comes from what do you do with it? How do you write the emails? How do you understand what kind of offers they like? So the point of that is to say that above all else, being a great marketer is more valuable than anything else that we do. And so I'll kind of give a little breakdown on holistically how the ads process works, or really what has been more integrated into the overall bad marketing company. But essentially, what is my system and how does that flow? And then I guess we can kind of open up into more of a Q&A, and that'll give me a better insight of okay, what more detail or things can I dive into? Because really, if I was to cover everything on media buying, it's I literally have a program that's 35 hours of content, and we don't have 35 hours, and I would die as well as you if we had to sit through that. So to start off, really what I wanted to do is I think you guys do this very similarly, but I try to create campaigns like a scientific experiment, right? The scientific experiment, if we all go back to grade school, right? It's okay, have as many controls in place as possible, and you're doing one variant at a time. That way, if it works, you know why it works. And if it doesn't work, you know why it doesn't work, right? And so I think of the same way when it looks at an ad account. And so inside of an ad account, we have really kind of three levers that we can pull, right? And that's about it. We can have audience testing, we can have creative testing, and then we can have campaign structure testing. And what I mean by that is you can create the campaigns in different ways, right? We can have them optimized for a certain event versus another event, or we can have them have different attribution windows, things like that, right? It'd be almost kind of like you guys going okay, we can have what's written in the email that's different. We can have design that's different. And then we can have segmentation and flow differences, right? Which is the more mechanical side. And what you're looking for there is can I get maybe a little bit better deliverability rates, right? And then you're kind of finessing the fine-tuned stuff. Same thing in an ad account. So inside of an ad account, what I typically like to start with is assuming that they have some level of offer or ad that has worked in the past. What I first like to try to figure out is who are we talking to? So this is the audience side. And so in the media buying, it's going, okay, we have something that we know worked relatively well. This would be deemed what we call the control. And so now it's like, okay, now how can we just narrow in on the audiences that have the highest potential for sending other variant tests of messaging to, right? Because if I can at least find the room of the people that I'm talking to that are relevant, well, now I can afford to try different waves of speaking to that room because I know there's still the ideal market, right? Because if I was just testing a bunch of different messaging, but I didn't know I was speaking to the right room, well, then if I'm just speaking to the wrong room, it doesn't matter what I say, and they're just not going to convert, right? So the first thing we try to figure out is audience. Once we start narrowing in on audiences that we believe are working, this could either be going after certain page interests, pages that people like, based on what we think they should do. Like if we're selling a tent, I'm probably going to start testing REI. I might test Bass Pro. I might test backpackers. I might test rock climbers, right? And so I'm just going to be testing a bunch of different audiences there. Or we could test what's called lookalike audiences. Does anyone not know what a lookalike audience is? Perfect. Thank you. So a lookalike audience, Meta has this really cool thing. They realistically have like hundreds of thousands of data points on all of us. They know the sites that we go to, right? Like imagine every site you go to, every fashion item or hobby things you're looking at, or you're looking at cars or whatever, right? Most of those websites have a Facebook pixel, right? And even if we don't do anything on those websites, Meta can pull that user ID because you're probably logged in on your phone, you're logged in on the computer somewhere, or they can pull the cookies or your IP address and they go, oh, this person hit this website and they also hit all of these other websites, right? So Meta has an insane amount of data points. Now, if we want to go even deeper, they probably have a lot more psychological data points on us than we know, namely because they also will start tracking things like eye contact, pupil dilation, right? Have you ever seen someone trying to unlock their phone and it's like a night vision camera, like maybe a security camera or something? Like you just see flashes all the time, right? It's just like, oh, it seems like almost every 10 seconds, there's like flashes from your phone, but it's invisible to the naked eye, but you can see it on like a night vision camera. Those are literally Apple like scanning your face, right? And those things are even monitoring where your eye contact goes on your screen, right? And so Meta can even start to see, man, what kind of content on the newsfeed are they paying attention to? Where's the pupil dilations happening? What are they focusing on when it's on your For You page, right? Like they have an insane amount of data. And so with that said, lookalike audiences is essentially to where I can go give Meta a segmentation of audience and say, I want you to go find people who are like this person. And you can choose on percentages. You can say, I want a 1%, which is basically saying, okay, Meta, of these countries, let's just say United States, of these countries, I want you to go find the closest 1% of the entire US population that is on Meta that are like these users, and I want to target them, right? Which is really powerful on the Meta side. The hard thing, though, is that in a lot of markets, especially if you're like qualifying for income, poor people look kind of like rich people. We kind of have similar interests. The only difference is the number in our bank account. And so that it can be an issue that you run into. But anyway, you have interests, you have lookalikes, and then you have what we call demographics, right? We can just target by age, gender that they've listed with the social media profile, their relationship status, their education history, their employment history. And so those would be called demographics. So those are really the three ways we can target. So first thing in ad account, we're trying to find, okay, how do we at least just know we can get in front of the right people? Step two, once we've kind of narrowed in on audiences we believe are good audiences that we can continue testing, we found the right room, so to say, to speak to. Now it's a matter of how do I change what I say to make it more convincing, more compelling. Inside of this, how many of you are copywriters or copywriting background, or you write?
I think all of us are sort of copywriters now.
Yeah, I figured so. Yeah, but no one raised their hands. You guys should embrace that. Copywriting is like the most powerful skill in marketing. Inside of copywriting, right, there's really kind of like two holistic things that you can see, right? You have indirect copy, you have direct copy. Anyone tell me what indirect copy means?
Is that like soft selling?
Kind of. Yes. In a way it is.
Is it when you're not addressing a specific subject?
Pretty much. It's kind of like in the word, right? It's like you're indirect about it. Direct, right? So an example, right, would be, let's just say a gym was trying to sell memberships. right? And let's say they had a sale for 50% off your first month, right? Direct copy would be now get 50% off your first month at XYZ gym, right? Very direct, right? If I was trying to be indirect, I would maybe say something like transforming your life and getting that summer body just got cheaper, right? Very indirect. I'm saying the same thing, but I'm being indirect about it, right? Typically, indirect copy is longer because you're kind of creating an open loop and then you have to kind of close that loop. Whereas direct, it's like, this is what it is, take it or leave it, right? And so inside of the copywriting, when we move to what we call phase 2, which is now creative testing, we typically like to start off with this methodology of going, okay, let's first test direct versus indirect copy to the market and see which one they will respond to most. Based on what they start responding to most, we can create all future ads using that understanding, meaning, man, this market really responds to direct. This market really responds to indirect. Now, who can tell me why we might do that? Like, what data does that give us about the market that's beyond just they respond to direct or indirect? Why would we want to know that? And hint, this would have to do with awareness levels.
Oh, so like non-buyers or people who are unfamiliar with the brand, I would assume probably would be more indirect prone because they're just looking to transform their life. Whereas someone who's aware of the brand, they follow the brand, they know of the brand. Oh, 50% off. Cool. I want to get that. But if you don't know the brand, that doesn't mean anything to you.
Very close. That's a good answer. That's a really good answer. What else? Who can tell me the states? Can anyone tell me the states of awareness? Oh, this is fun. Okay, we should have more fun. I need to do more trainings. Cool. No one? All right. So this is a concept from Eugene Schwartz, right? So this is like one of my favorite, I think my favorite marketer of all time, wrote Breakthrough Advertising. Inside the book, he talks about like every market and every customer, like there's 5 states of awareness to a market, right? And your market, meaning everyone inside of that market could be a buyer. So there's inside of that though, they fall into one of 5 states, right? Unaware, meaning they have no idea of the problem or need or solution or other products or competitors. There's problem aware, so they understand that there's a problem, but they might not know, they don't know that there's a solution or there's other products or competitors out there, right? There's solution aware, right? There's product aware, and then there's totally aware. Okay. So let's think of it this way. Think back before we had washer and dryer machines, right? Like in the beginning, no one knew that there was a problem with it. This was just how life was, right? So you just went to a river, you grabbed some rocks and you scrubbed clothes and like that's what everyone did, right? That would be unaware. And then all of a sudden problem aware is like, man, doing laundry takes a long time. But that doesn't mean there's a better solution. It's just like, man, this is an all day thing, right? Solution aware. Oh, there's all of a sudden like there's these things that can do laundry faster, right? And it only takes a couple of hours and I don't have to do scrubbing. Like this is incredible, right? Product aware. Oh, there's LG, there's Samsung, there's Whirlpool. You like have all of these different models you can choose from. And then totally aware is like you understand prices, you probably understand promotions. They are actively looking to buy, they're looking at other sales, right? And so when we start off with direct or indirect copy, really what that starts to tell us is if direct works, they're past unaware, they're past problem aware, they're probably past solution aware, and they're probably product or totally aware, right? Because they're ready to buy. They don't need to be educated. They don't need to be persuaded that this is a good idea or a good solution. They're pretty dang aware. So that means that, okay, our market is probably actively looking for this. And so we don't need to get fancy with creative stories and copy and trying to persuade. We just need to show them probably why we're the company to go with, why they should trust us, why they should trust what we say. So that's now what we start pivoting all of our ads towards, because we're realizing the market is more aware. Unaware is vice versa, right? Okay, our market, they're not really totally aware. Maybe it's because there's not that many competitors. Maybe it's not that saturated of a market, or a lot of these things, they have to be more educated. Example, right? If you were selling mindset training, or you're selling maybe operation spreadsheets, right? you're probably going to have to do some convincing to people, because most people don't think that their mindset is the problem. They think it's their Facebook ads. They think it's some template, right? And so I would have to be in my copy, start educating them more from the, hey, they know they have a problem, but they don't know the actual right solution. So I'm going to have to probably start addressing the problem and really moving them along, right? And so that's where what we really pull from that is like direct or indirect. And then once we do that, we start moving into, okay, based on their state of awareness, what do we believe is holding them back? What is the biggest objection, or what is the biggest thing that we must overcome in our copy to start getting them to click our ads and ultimately convert, right? Then once we really start understanding the angle, so I normally like to say it's like, there's the angle that we're going after. And then once we break in angle, we go, okay, this is the angle that's working best. Now it's a matter of like, okay, now how can we get the best modality of consumption? What I mean by that is, are they going to, is our efficiency on media buying, or is their consumption going to be higher on UGC? Is it going to be higher on, product demonstration? Is it going to be static images? Is it going to be carousel? Is it going to be testimonials? Right now, it's just a matter of like, okay, now I know what they need to hear. Now, how do they need to hear it? So that's kind of the next thing that we start looking at, right? Once we started narrowing in on creative, we found, let's say really our goal is to try to have like 4 what we call workhorse ads, meaning these are dependable. These are ads that are proven, they convert, they do well. Then we move into phase 3, which is much more of campaign structure testing. So now it's like, hey, we already know who to talk to. We already know what to say when we talk to them. Now it's, can we just get the most efficiency in our media buying, right? And this would be for you guys of going like, maybe it's, you found the great email, and now it's like, now we want to find the best send time, to get the best open rates or the best success, right? You're just kind of being more micro here of just going, how can I squeeze more juice out of what we're doing? And so that's really kind of the process and flow for what we do on the media buying side.
That was really insightful. Does anyone have any questions they want to ask real quick?
Just to clarify, you said that the only group of people that get talked to indirectly are the unaware group?
No, realistically, indirectly is probably everything below product aware. So if they're unaware, problem aware, or solution aware, I'm still probably being indirect. Solution aware is kind of where they might be some of both, because they're aware that a solution exists, but they're probably not aware of specific competitors or deals or prices or things like that, or unique features that the market might have on these products. And so this is why even too, like a lot of supplements, right? You guys will focus a lot more on ingredients, right? What ingredient makes that product unique? Because the market is solution aware. They know the supplements exist, right? But they don't know like maybe why yours is better than anything else. And that's where you really start getting granular, right? So you could kind of be indirect or direct on that. You could be direct of this is the ingredient, boom. But a lot of times, and I think a mistake I see a lot of people make when it comes to supplements is they assume the market knows what glycinogen 2.0 whatever is, and like that's cool for them. No. A lot of times on supplements, it is more indirect because you need to talk about the benefit of the benefit, right? Like, why is that ingredient actually good? Man, are you like, do you just kind of like do you wish that you could, go to bed with your stomach looking the same way it is when you wake up, right? What happens? Like, it's bloating, right? Like in the morning, man, you're probably looking lean. You're like, man, I look amazing. And then it's like 4 o'clock comes around. You're like, what happened? Like, so now all of a sudden it's like, that's an indirect copy because I'm like explaining something and like merging the gap for why is this ingredient actually great.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. What else?
I got my degree in advertising, actually. Of course, I didn't stay with it because I like design better. But I remember we learned so many different softwares to know our audience. And I'm wondering, I guess, how you guys do that and like how we can use that too. Because like you said, audience is like top priority.
Yeah, great question. So we don't really have any softwares per se that do this, but what I do is there's a kind of a full method that I do of research when I'm going into a market. The best places I love to look at is going to be either competitor ads, competitor Amazon reviews, Reddit reviews. I think a slept on strategy is actually Goodreads. namely because you can find a book on pretty much any concept or thing you want to learn. But if you go to Goodreads, people will give you the most thought out reviews and perspectives ever. Why? Because it's all about time with everything, right? This is why if someone watches an hour webinar, we know they're going to be way hotter than someone who just read downloaded a free PDF, right? Just because of the time that they use. Well, imagine a book. They spent 6 hours, 10 hours, 20 hours reading something, and now they're giving their thoughts and perspective on it. So I love to go to the industry and see what are the top books. Let's say it's with bloating, right? Let's say it's with PMS. Let's say it's with workout gear or hiking or backpacking or whatever it is. You can find a book on it and you can see what people's true pains are. So I think that one's a great one. And then, I used to just, it gets kind of creepy, but what I would do when I'd go into a client, I'd have them give me their top like 5 customers or so. And I would go to all of their customers' social media pages and I would scan through all their pictures. And I would get a very good picture at what that person is like. Are they a hoarder? Is their house messy? Do they have kids? Do they have dogs? Do they like to hike? What kind of trips do they go on? Where do I think their income is? Right? Like I get to see so much about them by going to their social media pages and it's like being a creep, which, hey, we all creep other people's social media. This one we just get paid to do,
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's definitely more personal way to do it. So I like that.
Yeah. What else? Doesn't even have to be specifically about media buying. Like I said, my background is kind of everywhere. I've done everything. But I think the unique skill has been able that because I have such a vast background, I've merged a lot of the concepts and strategies that I've learned in each area and go, how do I make better marketing overall?
So for the different voices, I guess you're using for people who are aware versus not aware, I guess with ads, you guys have the different types of funnels that you can put people into that, like, okay, these people have been to the site, these people have done this, these people have taken this action. So we know kind of how hot and how informed they are of the brand. Whereas with email, we kind of just rely on like the opening and the clicking and whether or not somebody's visited the site. So it's a little less intricate when it comes to those pieces. We can't really funnel people the same way. Do you have any recommendations on how we would kind of separate those different voices based on just like buyers, non-buyers, if somebody's like looked at certain products on the site, how would you distinguish something like that?
Yeah. So there's kind of like an ethereal way to do this. And then there's like the practical way to do this. And one of the things I think that would work really well, because it's very similar to what I would say is remarketing inside of ad buying. Because remarketing is kind of the same thing, right? They engaged, we have their contact maybe, but like they didn't do what we wanted them to do. So they're just sitting in our email list, right? And so in my head, it was like, okay, they showed interest, they showed intent to some level because they've given us contact information, like whether they're serious or not, like we still have their information. So they've showed intent, but there's a reason they didn't buy. And so, or convert. And so in my head, there's 5 real reasons someone doesn't convert. And so I actually kind of built this chart for media buying, but I actually think it makes a lot of sense for this. And I'll kind of just share this tab here. So this is kind of what it looks like. Let me know if you guys can see this properly. Or there's 4 objections really. There's 5 technically, but 4 that the main ones that we can do. And so if I was in email marketing, I would almost want to do a stringed test of these, trying to overcome these 4 objections and going, how can we create a series that, okay, each objection maybe gets the same day, right? Maybe objection 1 in week 1 is happening on Monday. And then objection 2 is happening on Monday the next week. Maybe objection 3 is happening on Monday the next week. But I would really want to start go like, okay, what is the objection that is the most popular for our market to not convert? And I would be creating emails around each one of these objections to try to overcome them, right? So the first one is just boring or not special, right? Like maybe the product or the promotion or the ad that they saw was just not that special. And so it didn't catch their attention. And so within email, it might just be going like, how do we spice this up, right? They've given us enough interest to give us their information, but how do we spice this up? Objection 2 is they don't trust us. Right? So how can we prove who we are? This is not the same as like they don't believe what we say, they don't trust our product. It's like they don't trust us, right? So now I'd maybe be writing emails about the founder's story. How did he come up with the product? Why does the product exist? Why is this important to him? Does the company have a mission, right? How can you prove to them that the company and us as a business is something that they can trust? Objection 3 is they don't believe your claims. So now it's how do we prove what we say, right? Is there any case studies? Is there any tests that we can do? Is there any celebrities or influencers or thought leaders that have spoken about our claims and that can, overcome the gap of them just not believing what we say? And the final one is just they just are not sold, right? They might have seen what we had to say. They might trust us. They're just not sold. They're just not urgent enough. We haven't built enough urgency in them to actually convert. So now it's like, how can we actually start to stand out? This is where we can introduce mechanisms. So maybe I have some emails around what makes us special, the mechanism in our product or our service. This is a brand new appeal, right? So you think about like Axe body spray, right? Do any of their commercials have anything to do with the smell or, not sweating? Absolutely not. Like all their commercials is someone sprays Axe body spray, and now all of a sudden women by the horde come after and attack this guy, right? They've completely changed the appeal where it's no longer really about the product or what it does. It's like the benefit of the benefit, right? They've changed it complete to sex appeal, right? Or the final one, and that is more fun, but it's just going pure humor. How can I just make them laugh? How can I build affinity towards our brand, right? And so with the emails, I'd be thinking of like, man, how can we make sure we're having emails that address each of these objections? And how can we get multiple iterations of those just in case the first one doesn't work or so? But now if I can start finding out which one my market starts responding to more, man, we can really start optimizing our automated flows, right? Because you can test these in broadcasts. And then as you see the broadcast start performing, man, all of a sudden it's like, oh, that broadcast worked really well. Let's just put it in our automated flow because we know now that this is the main objection that our market has for not converting. So if we can give them that automated on the front end, well, now everyone's going to start having that objection handled quicker. And you can just start backing out to go, okay, now what's the second most popular objection, third most popular objection, so on and so forth.
That's really helpful. Could we get a copy of that? I took a screenshot, but it might be a little bit
Yeah,
small.
no problem. Actually, hold on a second. Someone let me know if this QR code still works. I have no idea if this QR code works. It was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, it works.
Sick.
Oh, cool. Thank you. So, real quick, I thought you said there were 5 reasons someone doesn't convert, but I only see 4 in the slide.
Yeah, so there's really only 4 main ones. The 5th one, I believe, was just more of a comparison analysis. So like you don't have the market share, which kind of falls into they don't trust you, but it's not necessarily they don't trust you. It's they like someone else better.
Okay. So on the email side of things, I definitely don't think that we're taking advantage of working with ads enough, both when our team internally is doing ads for a client and also when the client has their own internal ads team. There's not really any collaboration that happens right now. And I would like, obviously, I think there's a wealth of knowledge on the audience, what works best. It would probably make our lives a lot easier if we knew what was working on the ad side of things. So I wanted to ask a couple of things in relation to that. So what are some of the best questions? I mean, of course, it could be like, what works better, indirect or direct? How aware are they on the scale of awareness? But if we're working with a different ads team, they might not be familiar with those same terms. So I don't know if you have any best questions for us to ask whoever is doing ads for the clients that we have.
Great question. So I think it'd be simple, very easy to do if going, maybe even if it's just once a month, maybe it's like, around the first end of the first week of each month. It's like, okay, last month, could I get a link to the top 5 ads that worked for you guys? And could you tell me what the top 5 interests that worked for you guys? Okay. And that would probably be the simplest way. It's an easy thing for them to pull. But then, of course, if you have a link to the ad, you guys can see, is this indirect or direct? And more importantly, you can kind of just see what copy worked. And so really, even based on the copy, there's a couple things you can do, because sometimes people just need to hear the message again. So maybe it's just like, okay, how can we just turn this ad into an email? Or B, based on the ad itself, though, it's going, maybe what is this ad missing? What maybe gaps or objections did they have by reading this ad that wasn't answered, so that we can answer it in the email, because we know what attracted them to us, but it didn't cause them to convert. So then maybe what else are we not saying in that ad that we should say in the email? That's how I would kind of look at it.
Okay, that's awesome. That's great. And then this is kind of like a little bit salesy, but if we have a client that they're using a different ads team, you know, whether it's an agency or internal, what are some things that we could provide them to kind of build credibility on what our ads could do to try to get them to join us for ads?
It's a good question. I mean, ultimately, it's probably almost the same process, because even mentioning that we have this process internally where we integrate and we have synergy with our ads team. And so this is a process we do internally, and we'd love to carry that process here. And so have that ads team do the same thing each month, top 5 ads, top 5 interests. And then realistically from there, it's kind of almost like an audit. Do the ads suck? You know, like are they missing it? Are they dropping the ball? Or every month, is it the same ads and is it the same audiences that are always working? Well, it's probably because they're not testing anything. And so there's probably a lot of gaps that could be exposed from that side.
Yeah, definitely. That's helpful. And then one more thing. So a lot of clients, they'll have like a certain offer that they're pushing in ads, you know, like get this 12 pack for $7.99 or whatever. And I feel like on the email side, we have a general idea of nurturing them into becoming a buyer. So we'll, you know, if they didn't get the offer, or if they did get the offer, that would be different. But trying to get them to then buy like the full price product in the end. And I guess that really comes down to looking at the audience, how they want to be spoken to, and all the rest. But I don't know if you have any other tips for best tactics to convert someone who came through like a special offer, and how to get them to buy the full price product.
Yeah. So there's a heuristic that I kind of developed a while back for like market potential, and basically it just means like conversion potential, right? And so to visualize it, essentially, it is M, which is market potential or conversion potential, and then equals, and it's in parentheses, V minus C, close parentheses, A. Okay, so if you can kind of picture that in your mind, it is all that means is conversion potential equals the value minus cost, and then close parentheses, and it's measured by acceptability, right? And so acceptability, if you want to like a mental picture, is like think essentially value and cost playing tug of war here. And the middle flag that like kind of decides who wins, right, is the acceptability, right? And anytime someone who is trying to make a decision on anything, it's always that equation happening in our heads. Is the value more powerful than the cost that we associate it with it? And is it acceptable in our mind? Right. So the example I always use with people is like, have you guys ever been like really hungry and you've been laying on the couch, but like the fridge feels so far away, so you like do nothing, right? Like you're hungry, you have a need, but like the energy, the cost is higher than the value for you. So you don't do anything and you just stay on the couch, right? And so the acceptability was not in line for you. Value and cost have kind of 3 different ways. There's several different types of value, several different types of cost. When it comes to cost, there's like fiscal cost, right? Money. But then there's mental cost, there's energy cost, right? So like the money might not, is most of the time really for people is a lower cost for them, because money is like a thing but not a thing for most things. But it's mental and energy is kind of the bigger ones, right? Mental cost is like, how much is it going to take for me to get what I want? This is why conversion rate optimization is so important, right? Because it's mental cost. Like, man, we're just having to go through so many steps to get what I want, to check out and buy this dang product. This is why like conversions will drop off, right? But then there's energy cost, right? And that could be like, even if I got the product, how do I know, like how long or how much energy is it going to take to get what I want? Shipping times, like, man, shipping times, like how long is that going to take? Like, is it going to take a long time for me to get this product? So there's so many other levers that we can start pulling and to try to reduce cost. And so we can either try to reduce cost, or we can try to increase perceived value, right? And so we can increase perceived value of going like either like, man, the benefit of this, how big is it? Can we play on the concepts of simplification and escalation? If you guys don't know those ones, those would be cool concepts to look up by Eugene Schwartz as well. Simplification, escalation. Super brief example of simplification would be like, in 15 minutes or less, you can save 15% or more on car insurance.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Right? Like that's a simplification of the process. It is more than that. You don't just wait 15 minutes and all of a sudden you got 15% or more saved on car insurance. There's like, you have to do stuff, right? But they've had to simplify that, because if I just said apply and fill out this application, get qualified, hop on with a rep or whatever, like that sounds like more and they're going to get way less conversions, right? Or 15 minutes a day for rock hard abs, right? Well, it's a lot more intense than just 15 minutes a day for rock hard abs. It takes more work, right? But I'm simplifying the concept in your head so that the acceptability goes up, right? Escalation is the opposite, where you try to expand on its value, right? Like one of Porsche's things, right? It's like you may get lost, but never in a crowd for their ads, right? Like they're expanding the value of it. There was this one that I love to show people that's it's back in like the 60s, but they're advertising a fridge, right? And back then, like fridges took so much electricity. It's like very expensive to run them. They consumed a lot of energy for the house, right? And so this company had built a fridge that just consumed less energy to operate. And so their whole thing, their marketing headline was, when your fridge eats less, your family eats more, right? And that they're expanding the value to, now it's not just a fridge. It's not just an energy bill. It's like your family eats more, right? So that would be an example of expanding. So for you, if you can no longer benefit from the discount that you did, then now you have to expand or increase perceived value or lower the perceived cost in their mind.
That's amazing. Thank you. That was so helpful. Well, this was a wealth of knowledge. I'm so excited I was doing some handwritten notes. I'm so excited to type those up. And I think everyone on our team can utilize, I think, every principle tip that you gave today. So this was extremely, extremely helpful.
Awesome. All right, guys, have a good one. Thank you for all your guys' work. You guys do incredible work. Honestly, it's an incredible thing to watch this department, even from my perch. But being even disconnected, I can see how good you guys are. So thank you so much for everything you guys do each and every day and taking care of our clients. You guys are the best. Thanks.